walk out on that field today, ask yourself this question.
What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We made it! We made it! We made it! We made it! And I don't do that! And I don't do that!
When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
Football is getting hit. That's it.
It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We made it. And I don't do that. And I don't do that.
We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how like we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin strap.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from them.
He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man.
You already make the big money.
He's a man.
Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's war out there.
When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like.
Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world.
What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We made it. And I don't do that. And I don't do that. It's a wrap. Game over.
No, this game's not over. It's just getting started right here on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, streaming live on ROKU TV, courtesy of BS3 TV. And I'm telling you, they got a lot of great stuff. You got a Roku streaming device, just download BS3 TV and you will be rolling. I'm telling you. If you don't have a Roku streaming device, don't worry. You're not left out. All you got to do is go to the website, BS3 Network. That's B as in boy, S as in Sam, the number 3 network.net. I'm sorry, and you rolling. Okay. All right. Anyway, let me get into this day. It's Talk Your Team Tuesday, and man, we got a lot to talk about on a number of different fronts. NFL, I think the big question mark is where are some of these quarterbacks going to go? And I'm not just talking about free agent quarterbacks. I'm talking about some teams have decided that they're done with their quarterbacks or might be ready to move on. So there's a lot of discussion about where these quarterbacks will go. In fact, I'm going to ask you about your favorite team. Would you want one of these quarterbacks on your favorite team? We'll talk about that. Got to talk about the NBA All-Star Game, man. I think it was an interesting weekend. Very happy for Mac McClung, who was only a couple of days into a very short 10-day contract with Milwaukee. But man, oh, did he show out with his moment. We'll talk about that. And of course, we got to talk about the game itself. I think Jaylen Brown had some very interesting comments following the game, and I agree with him. I'm not saying he had it right. I'm just saying I agree with him. He and I are on the same page. So that's what we'll get into today, and appreciate you all tuning in. Again, want to say congratulations to Miss Pearl. She is the $500 winner of the Lunch Break Weekly, Keeping Up with the Joneses Pick'em Challenge. She won it in the playoff round over 5 people. And she's a little nervous now. She's a little nervous about talking on the TV. So on the TV show. So y'all got to give her some energy, give her some love. I don't think she's going to be on today, but I'm trying to get her and try to calm her down. What I might have to do, I might have to record her and then play it back because she's real nervous. But she got her money and she's real happy about that. It's like, Miss Pearl, all you got to do is say, I won $500 with AJ Jones and the Lunch Break. You do that and we good. And she's nervous. But bless her heart, she is a wonderful viewer, a wonderful member of the Lunch Break crew. And she's been telling everybody. She's been telling everybody in her hometown about how she won $500 and how she showed them young people how to do it with her NFL football picks. Her son and grandson are just like, what? So I don't know if Miss Pearl got help from the people that we thought she was getting help from because they're surprised that she won. So anyway, we'll deal with that today as well. So got a lot going on, and we're going to get to it all. Let me take my first break. I'll come back, and we'll dig in. Let's talk about these quarterbacks, man. Where they going, and do you want one? All right, y'all better get one of these. What is it? A chicken sandwich? Where you get it from? The NFL. We'll be right back right after this on the lunch break, powered by JM&E.
This is a BS3 Network presentation. Politics.
They'll write the law, but they'll enforce it differently. Is that going to apply both ways?
Religion.
God never said that we can't reason together. Matter of fact, he said, let us sit and reason together.
Relationship.
I believe that everybody wants and needs somebody.
From a man's perspective.
They say, girls, if I put some polish on that and get him to buy some different clothes, girl, he could be a winner chicken dinner.
Join the thought engineer.
There's nothing wrong with me developing my piece and you developing your piece, but understand the goal is to come together.
And comedian John Yogi.
Negro, I don't need you putting on no chapstick up there in the pulpit. You do that over there in your chair.
Get ready for Monday. Live every Monday at 7 p.m. Central. There's a 100% chance of a laugh thunderstorm. 4 men with different viewpoints take a movie, show, or documentary and review it uncensored, unfiltered, uncompromised, with no holds barred. Join BS3, Wilkes, King Doc, and H-Rap B as they take on Hollywood their own way. BS3 Network proudly presents The Forecast, where H-Rap B always predicts,
if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And if you need it, get it from God.
live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Both of those shows were fire last night. Both of them were fire. I tuned in on both of them, and let me tell you, both of them were lit. You can get them by going to the BS3 network. All you got to do is download from your ROKU streaming device BS3 TV. That's BS3 TV, or go to bs3network.com. That's bs3network.com, and you can catch those shows and more, including the lunch break. All right, AJ Jones back with you, and let's go ahead and talk about Your Team Tuesday. Let's talk about these quarterback free agents. All right, so I'm gonna start not at the top. I'm just kind of start in the middle. Derek Carr has already been released by the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr has already been released by the Las Vegas Raiders, and there are a number of teams that are considering bringing him in. One team, there's been quite a bit of discussion about the New York Jets, because they don't have a quarterback with Zach Wilson and Mike White and others. They desperately need a quarterback. Played extremely well this past season in spite of. Derek Carr makes sense there, but there's a lot of talk about them waiting to see what Green Bay is going to do with that quarterback up there. You know, I don't say his name, too much drama for me. It makes my chest hurt when I say his name too much. But anyway, the quarterback up in Green Bay, the team is really ready to move on from him, and they should. I think they need to pull a page out of the Brooklyn Net playbook and just move on from your superstar and just, regroup, man. Just take a deep breath, get some healing, get some therapy for, grief, and just go ahead and go on, because life will be different after that quarterback is gone. But I believe it'll be a better different than it is right now. Anyway, I digress. So the Jets are in a precarious position. What do? Do they bring in a Derek Carr, who's not a bad player? I mean, he had a whole lot going on out there in Vegas, or should I say with the Raiders, because when they were in LA, it was one thing. When they were in Vegas, it was another thing. A lot of, turnover. Obviously the John Gruden thing, and, just you bring in, Josh McDaniels, who apparently has a habit of trying to film other people's practices or game plans or what have you, and can be great when that happens. When that doesn't happen, not so great. So, all that aside, Derek Carr has been released. He is no longer a member of the Raiders. Not a bad quarterback, has, got him to the playoffs one year, lost that game, but still. Would he be a better fit in New York with the Jets, New Jersey with the Jets, or do they wait on that quarterback from Green Bay? I would take Derek Carr over that quarterback from Green Bay in a heartbeat for a number of reasons. Age, and I know you shouldn't do that in our society. Age discrimination is not a good thing. You shouldn't consider age when hiring and all that, but age, because this quarterback from Green Bay can decide day after tomorrow that he is done. He's done all he could in the NFL. He's got multiple MVP championships. He's got a chip, should have more, as great as he is in his own mind. But he could say, I'm done. He could decide, I'm going to go backpack through Europe. He could decide he's going to be the Dalai Lama. He could decide he is going to, be an actor. He could decide he's going to go and do Jeopardy. He can decide a whole number of things. And at this stage of his career, it's more likely than not. I know anyone can do it at any age, but with him, with what we've seen, we got history. It's not like we're, projecting or, pontificating. We've got history that this guy is subject to do just whatever he wants to do. The Jets are a evolving franchise. They've got young players. They've got a new head coach. They've got, new leadership. They are evolving. And the last thing you want to do is bring someone in who can mess up that evolution. Derek Carr is not the youngest of the quarterbacks, but he ain't, he's still in his 20s. And he's still got some big plays in him, good plays in him. So if between those two, do you take a win now at all cost? Then you go with Green Bay quarterback. If you want to build something and have some consistency at the QB1 spot, then you consider a quarterback like Derek Carr. And I think that's what it boils down to. Now, I've seen fans say all kinds of stuff. Fans have been going at it back and forth, left and right, back and forth, left and right. But listen, I'm going to tell you now, if you run in your organization based on what the fans say, you're going to always be up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, because fans is short for fanatic and fanatics, and you're going to be in a fanatical roller coaster if you just don't make wise business decisions with a multi-billion-dollar organization. So for me, if it's between the quarterback in Green Bay, if it's between the quarterback, Derek Carr, I'm taking Derek Carr. That's me. Derek Carr's name has already also come up down in New Orleans, where, of course, they had Andy Dalton, they had Jameis Winston, and Ian Book. I say again, man, out of those three, I like Jameis Winston. But again, when I look at, the longevity and the style of play and what have you, I'm thinking Derek Carr. If I had to pick between those four quarterbacks, Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, Ian Book, and Derek Carr, I'm thinking Derek Carr. I think that, they kept Andy Dalton in because of his play statistically. Statistically, he was always in the top 15 of quarterbacks in passing rating and completion percentage and all those kind of, those metrics, analytics, if you want to call them. So it took me diving into the numbers to try and figure out why that guy over Jameis Winston, because Jameis Winston could stretch the field. Jameis Winston can make bigger plays. Jameis Winston, for me, had the better eye test than an Andy Dalton, but I figured it out once I started diving into the numbers. But Derek Carr didn't have better numbers than Andy Dalton, but he has a higher ceiling than an Andy Dalton. So to me, if it's between those two, you see what you got in Andy Dalton. Bring in Derek Carr and let him work with those young wide receivers, Olave and the wide receiving core. Don't know if Alvin Kamara is going to be okay to play. He got indicted for the incident in Vegas that happened, I guess, before the Pro Bowl. Don't know how that situation is going to play. But if you put a Derek Carr with those weapons that they have in New Orleans and put some work into that, that offensive line and, try to get that defense back where it was through the draft or free agency, let me tell you something, you could have something happening down in New Orleans. Oh, yeah, by the way, in a division that is very winnable by anybody. You know, when you look at what Tampa did last year, you look at what New Orleans did last year, look at what Atlanta did last year, Carolina almost won the division. You know, that might be the missing piece to put you over the top, which puts you back in the playoffs. So those are two spots that I think are logical for Derek Carr. There's a third spot. And it's not that it's all, you know, that Derek Carr is the most prized free agent coming out of this, because he's not. But there's a third spot where he makes some sense. Carolina. He makes some sense at Carolina. So again, we'll see where he ends. You know, again, Keith Hennick, let me ask you, down there in Tampa, would you want a Derek Carr? Would you want a quarterback from Green Bay? Or would you want Jimmy G? Because that's the other name. San Francisco has said Jimmy G is not coming back. They've said they're not going to bring him back. They found what they wanted to find through their young rook, the Mr. Irrelevant, and he definitely earned the right to be QB1 heading into this season. Trey Lance is still there. I know he's made cryptic messages about wanting to be moved, possibly to Tennessee, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But again, Keith Hennick, what would you want? Would you want to have one of those three quarterbacks? I think Jimmy G makes the most sense there in Tampa. For me, I wouldn't mind seeing Jimmy G as the bridge quarterback in Houston, you know, until they work out what they're going to work out with either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, you know, not Davis Mills. To me, it's now time for something else, someone else, especially with an exciting new coach coming in. You don't put new wine in old skins. I know that's a scripture, but you don't put new wine in old skins. You got to have something to go along with the energy and the electricity that you brought in with a DeMeco Ryan. So again, I'm seeing Jimmy G possibly down in Tampa. All right, let me look at some other names. Lamar Jackson, believe it or not, is a free agent. You know, they were not able to negotiate a contract. There's talk that they are going to franchise him. I believe that that's what they're going to do. But if for some strange reason they decide to try and, you know, get as much draft capital back from Lamar Jackson by trading him, would you want him on your team? Would you want Lamar Jackson in Atlanta? Would you want Lamar Jackson in Carolina? Would you want Lamar Jackson with the Jets? Would you want Lamar Jackson with the Raiders? Would you want Lamar Jackson? I would definitely want Lamar Jackson with the Texans. And again, please don't get me wrong. Not the Texans are my team or anything like that. I'm here in Houston. I cover them. So that's why I say that. But I would definitely want Lamar Jackson over anything that the Texans have, even over the rooks. Even over the rooks. I would take Lamar Jackson over Bryce Young. I would take Lamar Jackson over CJ Stroud and any of the rooks coming out of this year's draft. Lamar Jackson, Lamar Jackson. League MVP, you know, no, he hasn't won in the playoffs, but please, Lamar Jackson over any one of those. I think he's franchised and goes back to the Ravens. I think they figure out a contract situation with him. He wants the Deshaun Watson deal. He wants a big, fully guaranteed deal, and I think that's the sticking point. Again, we talked about Derek Carr. Let me go to another one. Daniel Jones wants somewhere around $47 million a season. What? Nah, let me stop. I can't be mad at a man for wanting his coins. And if it was somebody else that I really, really liked, I'd be saying the same thing. So Daniel Jones, you asked for what you want, brother, but realize that you might have to settle for something less. Daniel Jones and the Giants go together like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, Daniel Jones is the right guy for this administration with the Giants. I mean, we saw some electric things come out of that team based on his play. Now he's still stumbling, bumbling, fumbling, and not fumbling, but stumbling, bumbling down the field when he breaks off in those big runs. But still, he's got something that matches with what they're trying to do with the Giants. So I believe they're going to figure that out. I don't see Daniel Jones going anywhere but right back to the Meadowlands. All right, I really need to take a break, but let me get one more in here. Geno Smith, 32 years old in his 11th season in the NFL. If I'm Seattle, I can't give you everything you want, but get close to where we want to be, and I think we can do the deal. That dude put that team on his back and got those players to buy in to what he was doing and got them to the playoffs. Now, wait a minute. Did you hear what I said? Got them to a play. This was a team that folks left for dead after Russell Wilson left and other players left and what have you, and they made it to the playoffs. Can't beat that. Can't beat that at all. They were competitive in almost every single game, and that was directly related to Geno Smith. If I'm Seattle, bring him back. Run that thing back one more time. Run that thing back one more time. But if you don't, there's a lot of teams out there that could benefit from a Geno Smith. Again, a little older than some of the other quarterbacks in our discussion, but still very viable. Very viable. Heck, if I'm the Jets, there could be a reunion tour if he hit the free agent market. So again, Seattle, keep him. But if you don't, folks gonna want him. All right, let me take a break. I'm probably over my break, and I'm trying to do a fast break edition of this. So we'll get back to it right after this on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Roku TV, courtesy of BS3 TV.
Discouragement, sorrow, distance. Your arguments cause damage to your family. The hurt leads to divorce. You feel like there is nowhere else to turn. But there is hope for you. That's where we come into play. There is an overcomer that lives inside of you. One ready to take on the world as you leap for joy, living in victory. You'll grow to love yourself and others. There's life after divorce, and you can claim it today. Get Over Divorce, where your new story begins here every Thursday on YouTube and Spreaker. What do you get when you watch or listen to the Life Happens podcast? Well, I'll let them tell you.
Kim and I are both ministers of the gospel, and what Life Happens podcast is a beautiful balance by simply taking our spirituality with real life and merging it together to create a beautiful balance. And that's what we do.
BS3 Network proudly presents Life Happens podcast, where Christianity and life intersect. Live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central.
All right, 2 more great shows on the BS3 Network. Get your Roku streaming device. Download BS3 Network from your app store on the Roku streaming device, and you are rolling with us. BS3Network.com. That's BS3Network.com if you don't have a Roku streaming device. All right? All right, I got to hit these real quick because I do have to go in about 9 minutes. I'm just going to throw out names. You say yes or no for your team. You say yes or no for your team. Andy Dalton, 35 years old, New Orleans Saints, been with the Bengals, been with the Saints, yes or no? Been with the Cowboys, yes or no? You want him on your team, 35-year-old Andy Dalton. Again, top 15 in passer rating, completion percentage, and touchdown to interception ratio, top 15. Would you want him? Backup, maybe, veteran backup in my mind. But again, we saw him start, and, New Orleans was around the leaders of the AFC South, but being around NFC South, but being around the leaders is different. Jacoby Brissett, 30-year-old backup in Cleveland, kind of filled in the gap while Deshaun Watson was serving out his suspension. Jacoby Brissett, yes or no? Would you want him on your team in some fashion? Starter or backup? I like Jacoby Brissett. I thought he got a raw deal in Indianapolis with the Colts. I kind of like him. Carson Wentz, the Commanders have already said they're going with the kid that they drafted as their starter. So him and Taylor Heineke are both, up in the air. In fact, Carson Wentz at 30, Taylor Heineke at 30. Both of them are available. So would you want them on your team I stay clear of Carson Wentz. I stay clear of him. There's something about that young man don't sit right with me. I'm not fooling with him. Taylor Heineke is a gritty player. Could probably give you some game minutes. If your starter goes down, I see him as a backup somewhere. Gardner Minshew, again, how the mighty has fallen, was amazing down there in Jacksonville, went up to Philly, and when he got a chance to play in place of Jalen Hurts, it just was not there. So, that one is not happening for me either. So that's that. Sam Darnold, probably done in Carolina, especially if they get one of the quarterbacks that they're looking to get. I would say Sam Darnold, if there was a way he could stay in Carolina and accept that backup role, depending upon who they bring in, that might be a move for him. I know he wants to be a starter in the league, but man, in the stops that he has had, it just hadn't happened for him. Bakey Mayfield. Got his moment in the sun with the Rams, but just like everywhere else that he's been, started out great, started out on fire, had everybody, feeling like he was going to do something, fizzled out. Realize Baker Mayfield is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. If you need that kind of backup, great. If he's willing to be a non-problematic backup, then there you go. But, him as a starter, your team is in trouble. Case Keenum, again, 35 years old with the Bills, backup. Jarrett Stidham, that's who the Raiders, had kind of turned it over to after they moved on from Derek Carr. They didn't look a whole lot better with Jarrett Stidham. I know he has relationship with Josh McDaniels, but again, we're talking about the NFL. We ain't talking about relationships. We're talking about the NFL. If those two want to go have lunch or something after the games, or what have you, great, so be it. But if Jarrett Stidham is your starting quarterback in the NFL, you probably are not one of the top teams in the NFL. So he is available. Yes or no? Do you want him on your team? Cooper Rush, Cowboys, 29 years old. Cooper a little older than I thought he was. I know every Cowboy fan that hates Dak Prescott wants them to keep Cooper Rush, turn it over to him. Hey, listen, I hope your wish comes true. I want to see what the Cowboys look like with Cooper Rush as their starting quarterback full-time in the league. And then Mason, the redneck, Rudolph. Enough said. All right, so those are the quarterbacks. You want them on your team. All right, let me get to the NBA All-Star game real quick, and then I got to get ready to wrap it up because I got a hard stop today. First of all, the All-Star weekend was phenomenal with the rookies and the other teams and that skills competition. Team Giannis, that was interesting. Of course, Giannis himself couldn't be a part of it because of the wrist injury that he suffered in the game right before the All-Star break. That was interesting. The team from Utah, they ultimately won it. That was fun to watch. And then there were the Rooks, including Mr. Jabari Smith Jr. from the Houston Rockets. The three-point shooting contest was great, especially with names like Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard, who won it all. Man. Who won it all. I thought the kid from the Indiana Pacers was going to win it because he had such a great first round, but man, it ain't how you start, it's how you finish. So that was good. And then the slam dunk competition was all Mac McClung. You talk about taking your moment, just waiting for your time to shine and maximizing that moment, man. That young man, they can never take away from him that he literally stole the show in the NBA slam dunk competition. I am happy for him. Now, that aside, the game, Team Giannis beat Team LeBron 184-175. They had an all-star record, 55 points by Jason Tatum. But his teammate said, hey, man, it's fun to be here and all that, but this was nothing more than a glorified layup line. There was zero defense allowed, apparently, because zero defense was played. And I'm just going to say, this is my opinion, not anybody else's, and I'm not the old dude saying, get off my lawn with my water hose. I really believe that the NBA All-Star game is getting dangerously close to what the NFL Pro Bowl used to be before they stopped playing it. I really feel like it's getting dangerously close to that. And I feel like if they don't find a way to tweak it, to put some competitive nature in it, or scrap the whole thing and just make it all about the weekend and the skills and find out something else they can do to make it better, they're going to be in that same boat. And I know it's all about the Benjamins. I know it's all about the money. Again, no, please. I just realized I said that, and people from the Jewish culture might find that as a slight. I didn't mean it that way. I promise you, I did not mean it that way. But I know it's all about the money. And if they don't figure it out, they're going to lose the money, they're going to lose the viewership, and they're going to lose an audience that they really have captured and has followed that group. So again, Team Giannis beating Team LeBron 184-175. Jason Tatum, great. got the all-star MVP, 55 points. That's the record. Now we get back to the regular play. For me, again, I'm not a fan of what this is turning into. I feel like it's not there yet, but I feel like it's getting dangerously close. And one of their own member of the fraternity has said it's starting to look like a glorified layup line. So that's that. U of H, number one in the latest polls in men's college basketball. They beat Memphis this past weekend in a tight one, man, in a very tight one. And Memphis didn't even have their best player. Kudos to Penny Hardaway for the coaching job that he's doing down there. I know a lot of folks, oh God, these former NBA players. Penny is the real deal. Almost knocked off the now number one team in the country. Again, U of H beat Memphis 72-64. TSU got back in the win column last night, beat Arkansas Pine Bluff 64-59. In fact, they've won 3 in a row and are now in position to make the SWAC tournament coming up at the end of coming up in March. And then Prairie View came from behind to beat Mississippi Valley State 67-65. The Panthers have now won 2 in a row. All right, let me see. We got to get ready to go. In fact, I'm past my time. I got to give you a Black History Month trivia, or Black History Month update, and then I got to go. All right, on this day of Black History, we celebrate Bishop College. It's a historically Black college founded in Marshall, Texas, because they wanted a place where Black people could be educated, and it was Baptist ministers that started this university. In fact, in 1881, the Baptist Home Mission Society started Bishop College. Now, it was intended to serve students in East Texas, where the majority of Black people in the population lived at that time in East Texas. Bishop College was also one of the founding members of the SWAC, Southwestern Athletic Conference, in 1921, and they even won the conference championship in 1925. But in 1961, the administration moved the college to Dallas, where it later closed in 1988. On this day in Black history, we celebrate Bishop College. All right, y'all, got to get ready to go. As always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. I truly do love you. There is nothing you can do about it except meet us here tomorrow for Winning Wednesday, when I should have some kind of communication from Miss Pearl. Miss Pearl, the winner of the Lunch Break Weekly Keeping Up with the Joneses Pick'em Challenge. She won $500 cash. You can get in on it too. We got the bracket challenge going to be coming up. In fact, from what I just saw, the bracket area is available on CBS Sports. So if you have not opened up a free account with cbssports.com, do that, because that's what you're going to need to participate in the bracket challenge here on the Lunch Break. Open up a free account with cbssports.com. That's cbssports.com. I'll be sending out the link. Open it up and get ready for us to go through the March Madness Bracket Challenge on the Lunch Break. Okay. Again, y'all have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Winning Wednesday.
This is Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today, it's Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. Number 1, 2 Republican Tennessee legislators submitted a bill to change a portion of a Nashville street that currently honors the late civil rights leader and U.S. Congressman, Representative John R. Lewis Way. State Representative Paul Sherrill and State Senator Frank Nicely submitted a bill before the Nashville City Council stating they only wanted to change 0.2 miles of the street to President Donald Trump Boulevard, right before the state legislative buildings. The John Lewis March Committee, in its opposition to the bill, stated the move undermines the message of Congressman Lewis and is an attempt to erase the work of a Black civil rights icon. Number 2, February 19, 1942, the United States military activated the 100th Fighter Squadron in the 332 Fighter Group. We know them today as the Tuskegee Airmen. The 100th Fighter Squadron was the second African-American combat unit of the Tuskegee Airmen and the Army Air Force. The first was the 99th, activated March 22, 1941. During their time, Black people were allowed to serve in the military, but the extent of their service was a highly contested issue among top-ranking military officials. The Tuskegee Airmen defied both gravity and expectations, proving that not only could they fly, They were as good as any of America's pilots during the war. Number 3, a former prison guard at a federal facility in Mississippi, Tarshana Thomas, has been sentenced to 3 years of probation for devising a scheme to cash in on COVID relief loans. Thomas worked as a correctional officer at the Federal Correction Complex in Yazoo City, claimed to be the sole proprietor of a dog breeding and sitting service when she applied for the money. Thomas was also ordered to pay over $15,000 in restitution for her role in the fraud. Number 4, Ralph Blaine Smith, a 49-year-old black man, was wrongly imprisoned for 21 years and is now receiving $1.3 million in settlement from the state of Ohio. The Columbus, Ohio resident was sentenced to 67 years in prison in the year 2000 after being accused of an armed robbery in Lancaster, Ohio. Prosecutors claim Smith and another black man broke into a family home occupied by 2 adults and their children. Smith maintained his innocence for the next 20 years. Number 5, with the largest single payday approaching, Americans can save themselves some grief by opening an account that can receive electronic payments. Though the IRS can mail you a paper check, the fastest and safest way is through a free electronic direct deposit. Read more about it in today's newsletter brought to you by Texas CPA Katrina M. Kraft. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Be firm in your conviction, but flexible with your approach to living. Okay, Gumby. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with comedian Damon Williams as we discuss today's top headlines and more. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SibylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.